2, 1. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another great episode of Geeks Without Borders. My name is Gift Time A. Bailu. And of course, I got my illustrious cooperative co-host coming from the other side of the world, the continent of the continent. We got Jason, the Bray Train. I didn't know where to go with it from there because it was going to get.
I could see you got yourself into a bit of a corner there. From Asia, the continent is Asia. We're coming from Asia, people.
And of course, JP Finity, JP the Toy Man, Mateo. What's really good with you guys?
Oh, great. I'm pumped for these. I'm pumped for some of these shows. I think now we've got two of the lesser shows put aside. Now we can concentrate on the two quality shows.
Two of the amazing shows, the greatest of the greats, setting up so much into the future.
Oh, my word. All right. I mean, well, let's just rip right into it.
House of Dragons.
House of Dragons, the Green Council, the penultimate episode, I think, episode number 9.
Yep.
Guys, what do you think of Team Green this week?
I mean,
yes.
Yo, they're a mess. Like, they're a whole mess. Like, what can you say to that? Like, you're so disorganized, so discombobulated. Like, you just don't. You get it, but you don't really have it, and nobody's really in agreement with each other. And Sir Kristen is really just a giant bitch. Like, remember whenever he was just like almost honorable, and then now he's just like he's a petty bitch.
He's a bit. That's pretty much on the money for me. He's a bitch.
He's a whiny bitch. He enjoyed it. He enjoyed what he did, and now he's blaming the princess.
It's like, yo, you took your rage out at everybody. What, like, bro?
Yeah, I thought him and the older Kingsguard, they were ready to go. I was
kind of hoping they were going to go into it, but Sir Tristan isn't going to die this early. So
no, he's the problem is he's actually pretty good. Like, he's a good fighter. Remember, he beat Matt Damon earlier on. So he's here for the long haul, I think, and he's just going to be that character that's going to be sitting there the whole time, which we think, man, I can't wait for him to die. Yeah, I can't wait for him to die. And the same with feet fetish guy. Oh, that was terrible. The queen.
That was so fun. Because you know what's funny? Whenever she first took off her shoes and put her feet up, I was just like, oh, this is a really weird resting pose, but it's okay, all right? It's very casual going on. And then when I realized what was going on, I was like, oh.
Well,
I'm like, this is an interesting trade-off here.
I know. As I said, the look on her face was, God, this is disgusting. But of all the things that go on in Westeros, it could be worse. This could be so much worse. I don't
know if it could have actually been worse. Like, I feel like for some reason that was worse than actually just having sex with the dude.
You reckon? No.
I feel like that is like it's eye leprosy that occurred. Like what happened with the king. Having sex would just be like, yo, you dirty, but
just to remind you that things could get worse. Don't forget Ramsay Snow, right? All the things he used to do. That guy was definitely someone we are waiting to die. And that was freak. As you said, they're all freaks though. Like Aegon, for example, like, and the kids in the fighting ring and all that stuff. And I'm
more so laughing at the fact that there's a clear Targaryen kid just sitting in the corner, and they just have to keep going on. And it's like, so just no one's gonna do anything about this now.
So we're gonna adopt him and maybe make him a sponsor child, or
he's
work around the house.
Next heir onto the throne, bastard or not.
But with getting back to the heir and who's going to be on the throne, surely they've got to start evolving their protocols for becoming king to, if one brother's not good enough, maybe he can actually abdicate and give it to the other brother. Because Aegon is so not ready for this, right? He said it himself. He doesn't want to do it. He's going to be Joffrey. He's going to be bad. You thought that maybe someone could have said, can we just, he said he doesn't want to do it. Can we just accept the fact and just move on to number 2?
He doesn't want to do it. But it's mostly the people who don't want to do it that are actually good at it. Like, take the last...
See, I would make this argument for this point. It's those who don't want to do it humbly. Like, humbly don't want to do it. Aegon just wants to waste time. It's not that he wants to because he doesn't feel humbly ready to not do it. He doesn't want to do it because he just wants to party and fuck and rape and just go about his life with no response. He is an entitled, spoiled kid. That is all that he is.
And now we've got your frozen screen. I'm going to continue to sink the boot into you, JP. And what do you think about that, JP? Nothing? Well, then take this. This is great. Yeah. I mean, so JP has said on record, people who don't want it usually become good leaders. So let's now write down for a record for future episodes and seasons. JP thinks that Aegon is going to be a good king, and let's just see what happens to that prediction, right? JP says because he's gonna be. He's got Joffrey written all over him, or maybe Joffrey's got.
I don't think he's full Joffrey because Joffrey was always a sociopath from day one. He's just a slapdick.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
And his brother's waiting in the wings though. His brother is waiting, like he's gonna knock him off. I reckon at one point. He knows he's got the goods and Aegon doesn't.
But that's the thing. Like again, it because of the fact that it parallels so much to Viserys and Daemon, that it makes sense that Aemon would be that true foil. But I also think that he's too ready to do it to take the throne. If that makes sense?
Yeah.
Everything about him seems so perfectly set for him, and also to be the biggest psychopathic king, which I think is actually, more of what the line that I don't think he's capable of getting it.
True.
Yeah.
I
OP.
Yeah, I agree with Giff. That's what I was saying earlier. Like, people who really don't want to, take up roles, the mantle of leadership, are usually the ones better to do it because they're not power hungry. They don't want the power. They know that it's a responsibility. You know what I'm saying?
But I mean, that's definitely not Daemon's problem, is it? As you were saying, like he's too keen. I think he sees the chance to seize power and be powerful and maybe be an absolute bastard. So, I mean, it could be a civil war within a civil war. Apparently, it does get really, really messy. From what I've tried to avoid the spoilers.
Yeah, because they go pretty strong. I've listened. I'm just here to watch.
It's everywhere, but apparently it gets really messy. It's worse than British politics at the moment. If you know what's going on there.
There's no 6-week quit of the king.
No. And yet,
I got this, and I just didn't go back and read the other source material, so I don't get spoiled with it. The TV series, but it's deviated. It's also deviated.
Don't tell us. We don't want to know. We like being ignorance is bliss for us.
I mean,
same with the Lord of the Rings, because those books because both those, Silmarillion and the Dance of the Dragons have been out forever. People are just talking about them like, everyone knows what's going to happen here. No, please don't tell us. Ignorance is bliss. But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing about the ending. Considering everything we've said, right, we can see the mess, the train wreck coming from a mile away. We can see this family up on stage, and the whole cheering thing that we felt the shudders of this crowd. And then up she jumps with the dragon, right? And that I honestly thought it was going to be Matt Damon. I think I said it was going to be Matt Damon coming down, but then I realized he probably didn't have time.
I thought that was going to be Rhaenyra that was coming up through there,
but they wouldn't have had time because I don't think they kept it all pretty hush hush for a while there. And we got to remember they don't have mobile phones, so it's not as if someone sent them an Instagram or whatever saying it's coming. The logistics of Westeros got to be true to those. But up she comes with the dragon. And here's the thing that really got... At first, probably like everyone, I thought, that is cool. And I still think it's cool, right? Just the big explosion, like coming to piss on their parade. Coming to, you always know with Martin, right? Martin, he builds things up and then he tears them down, right? And so you just knew that something was going to happen during the ceremony. But here's the other thing that's pure Martin as well. She looks like she's a kind of, I won't say great character, but she's someone I think we'd all think would be a bit of a good guy. How many people does she kill? All right. How many folks does she kill bursting up through that floor, right? Just people coming, they were told to come to the king. They diligently came, done the right thing. Then she has the ability and the opportunity to kill everyone on that stage and put an end to all the shit that is about to go down. And she flies away. So the peasants, they crush them each other. Like you see them up against walls and dying all over the place. But the rich, the powerful, and the oppressive, she just flies off. And I was like, oh! I didn't think about it at the time, but the more I thought about it, I thought, but that's classic again, George Martin. The peasants suffer, the rich, well, they suffer too.
But they don't suffer. They don't have the highest direct effect.
But they don't get
thrown away.
They don't get just thrown out like garbage. Although Crispin gets hold of you, he'll probably slam your head against the desk and you're dead in a minute. But I just thought that ending was super cool. And then I thought about it and I said, well, that's pure Westeros, right? That's pure.
What I was also very confused by what the messaging was supposed to be. Was it the fact of her being like, I'm watching history repeat itself again, and I know this? Am I pro green side? So even though you should know that I can destroy you, I'm not going to? Or is this, I'm going to set the Civil War up and let her know so that she has a chance to fight back, but I'm not going to be in the position to take that away from her because it's not my throne to take away in this situation. The messaging is what confused me the most.
That's kind of what I'm saying. She had the chance. She had to. She really wanted to fry them and put it because they're all there. Everyone was there. They had no dragons. She had the big dragon. That wasn't
Aemon's. Aemon's is the biggest one, but hers, I guess, is like the second or third biggest.
Man, that's still a big dragon. She had them right where she wanted them. She hates them, it's obvious, but she lets them live. So I'm a bit confused too. Like, what is? Does she want to? I don't know. What does she want?
And in the trailer for the next episode, unfortunately I saw it because I was it's on HBO Go.
Yeah.
You see her with Damon and
Rhaenyra.
I mean, someone's
that's what I'm saying.
Both sides. Is she playing both sides?
So it's confusing to me because I'm just like I'm lost on the game right now. You don't have Valeria. You could say that Rhaenyra, is the reason for the destruction of your lineage. Your oldest two daughters, your two kids are, by her allegations, dead because of this family. And then on the flip side, like the green side is, they're spitting on they're spitting on the words of her brother, So you're just like, I'm so confused.
Well, let's wait. I mean, let's wait and see, because the good thing about this show is that consequences matter. Like, actions have flame. Someone, I'm sure, is going to ask, sooner or later, why didn't you do it?
Yeah.
Like, so I don't think it's. I mean, it could be just a plot thing, just to kind of figure. But apparently, it's in the book. Happens in the book. She does it in the book. So yeah, I mean, I think next week we're going to see the return serve, to use a tennis terminology. We're going to see what's going to happen with Vanera and Matt Damon. And we're just about to. Chaos is about to launch into chaos.
I just want Sir Kristen to die. I literally, he might be the only person on the show that I consistently want to die. Because even Laris, he's annoying to me, but he pops up. It doesn't feel like a consistent aggravation to me. Kristen's presence is constantly, it's like he's always trying to be ready to fight. And it's like, for what? And then, of course, killing that dude basically in cold blood, smashing him into the stone.
I was fascinated. I was fascinated at that whole scene, just how quick Otto Hightower moved. Like, because he, I've been curious about how much of a Tywin Lannister he is.
Yeah.
And how much is he a Littlefinger? Is he a Tywin Lannister? We know he's a schemer. We know he's a plotter. We know he plays the long game.
Right.
We all know that he's trying to set his family up. We're still figuring out how ruthless he can be.
Right.
I think I was curious to see how much stick and how much carrot he was going to use. Like, how much was he going to try to coerce the houses to come on board?
Right.
How much was he prepared to coerce the people? And how much was he going to be ruthless? And he kind of showed a bit of both.
Right.
I'm not sure hanging head like at that one. There's that one guy who swore allegiance to the king. He got hung because that's a problem now for him. Like, that's because that's the thing about all we know through Game of Thrones. You can go wipe out a family. You can wipe up the head of a family. The rest of them will come and try to get you. All right.
Yeah.
There are consequences. This is a kind of a bit of a real world situation. So I thought maybe him hanging people within days of it, or I think it was within 48 hours. This episode.
It was within a couple. It wasn't even within a couple days. It was within like a day.
So to start hanging people high off so quickly, I thought, is that the strategic thing to do? Like, he would have been better off killing that other King's Guard, like the King Guard who said, I'm not in this. That moment, that guy, because he's a bureaucrat, right? He's, but he can cause trouble. That King's Guard can cause trouble. But leaders of other people, I'm curious to see how, because those things do come back. Like that.
They have consequences. I thought the same thing too. I was like, yo, whenever you're letting these people go, like, because my thought was, if you kill them, the repercussions have to come. They have to come. And there has to be, because now you're sowing the seeds of dissent, exactly.
Yeah. Well, they'll throw their banners. They'll throw their banners behind.
Right. And then of course there's always the children. A lot of these, like they mentioned, like a lot of these are the children of the people who gave their loyalty to Rhaenyra. They said like 20 years back. It was like, I was a kid at that point, so I have a different mindset. But again, you take away the leader, and all that gets thrown away either way.
Yeah, and that hanging doesn't make sense for me because, like we've seen before, hostages make, like if you leave, you have hostages from another person's house.
You got leverage.
What did the guy at the Prince of Saudi Arabia do? He locked everybody up in a 5-star hotel. He brought remember that he brought all the richest, most powerful people in the kingdom and locked them into a 5-star hotel and wouldn't let them leave until they signed all this stuff and they gave up all power. He should have just done that instead of hanging them. He should have just said, "No one leaves here." And
but I'm going
to make you sit through the coronation, and you're going to just see all this to realize there's nothing you can do.
Right.
The green team.
That's why I said it goes back to the I think trying to question who Hightower is with the single-minded effort that he's made, even the chase down to find Aegon, who the white worm, like even that became a whole confusing thing. I was actually kind of confused. Was Aegon kidnapped or was he hiding?
No, he was hiding. He was hiding.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So, and I think the two twins were trying to kill him. And the other
No.
were trying to...
One was trying to bring him back. One was saying that he's not good to be in power. Like, one's a Rhaenyra follower, one's Hightower following, and then obviously got Sir Criston as an Alicent following. But the twins, it work in conjunction in that element. So it was just like he's not. That's why they were slow to come down and help. It was just like, let's see how this plays out.
And it's also interesting when Otto said immediately, like, first of all, he says, go take the Kingsguard and go get Daemon. I thought, oh, that's the dumbest. Have you learnt nothing from the couple episodes? You just don't walk, you don't just walk into Dragonstone and take Matt Damon and Bloody Veneer with those big dragons. The other thing is he said, go kill him. And Alicent was like, what? Like, she is not the bad all the way through person. Like, she understood and she cried over the death of the king. Like, there are redeemable qualities of this woman. She is not a bad person.
I think the problem with her was a factor of, again, it's the Sir Criston effect. Like, you feel like you got betrayed because I guess for Rhaenyra's case, it was feeling like she got lied to about sleeping with Criston. Whereas on the other hand,
that matter to her? Why should that
because
matter
of the lie or something to that effect?
Yeah, that's what got her father kicked out as Hand of the King.
Yeah. Because of passing a rumor.
And it really was kind of a betrayal of friendship, family. I mean, the episode's all there, but that was...
Well, she should have known that her father was scheming anyway.
But it's her father.
It's her father.
It's her father, so
blood is
I
thicker
get
than water.
it. And then, of course, her father also put the seeds of poison of Rhaenyra is going to kill your sons once you get to the power. So there's the element of that fear. So I understand her motivations. Her motivations are not invalid. But the problem is her awareness is the problem that makes it is the thing that makes her problematic to me. And is the fact that she runs so much on the fear and that her care and lack of empathy for those who are like, I feel like when she became the queen, she almost disassociated her friendship with Rhaenyra. And I feel like if she had done a better job in maintaining this, then a lot of these vulnerable points that would have happened would not have happened. But she almost became, because she knew she was just being used as a tool, that she played into the parts. And again, that's Hightower at work, but it makes those redeemable qualities less redeemable, even though I know they're redeemable only because I know the motivation, but they're not redeemable because she never picked up on it until that dinner with Varys at the end. And basically whenever you're like, okay, maybe she's realizing it's not as bad, but it's too late by that point because the kids are all poisoned, the parents are all poisoned.
Yeah.
And now
So I think at their heart, the two girls would love nothing better than to fly to the moon and rekindle a genuine friendship.
Right.
Like, because I don't think either of them are bad people, but their minds are being poisoned. The circumstances around them, have got them scared. They're full of fear. They fear for their lives. They fear for their children. And I think it's just going to escalate. I think we're just going to see these girls.
Right.
It's going to be, I'm still expecting this maybe next season. Episode 10 will be, okay, what's the black team going to do now, right?
Right.
But I think soon it's going to be tennis ball back and forward and back, and it's just going to go up and up and up and up, and then you'll see third factions. Anyway, we might move on to the next one, guys.
Yes.
Yep.
You could spend years on these ones, and you could spend years on Andor.
Let's see if I got a better one.
Andor. That's, man, 50 minutes. after 50 minutes today, when the credits came up, I said, no, we've only just started. This episode's only just started. What are we doing?
I mean,
you can't stop now.
Okay. Before we go in, the ending with Cassian, was that a future look or was that a past look? Like, I couldn't tell if him getting arrested happened after everything, or were we looking back at a past?
Okay. Right.
So did he get 6 years and it's just like you did all this work and then you got locked up for something stupid? Or are we looking at something from the past and now it's looking to, what's gonna happen? I genuinely got lost on the end of this one.
Right. I don't see any reason why it would be a flashback. He had all these credits. He told it's not his mother, but his mother figure, what he wanted to do. And it seems logical that now he wants out, but he wants to break away, he wants to live in a world of bliss and ignorance. But the Empire is everywhere now. And the oppressive reach goes even to, Phuket.
Right.
Space age Phuket. And I didn't read it any other way. I don't know how JP saw it.
Yeah, I read it the same. Mom doesn't want to go, so he had to go. He had to hide. And that's why he had a different name. And that's why he had all those credits hidden in the bathroom.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, yes, that's right. Yes, he had all those credits in the bathroom. So, it did seem like, I know what you're saying, it did seim like, whoa, we're at the beach. Well, okay, right.
Yeah, it was just like all of a sudden I was like, okay, different name. We're at the beach. He's sleeping with some chick, and it was like, wait. So he did. I guess maybe it's because I'm so not used to the characters actually just doing what they said they were going to do. Like, there's always like that. Oh, I want to go and run off, and then not have to worry, and then they come back to save the day and be the hero.
We were thinking about Han Solo in the New Hope, taking off with his money and then coming back. But Cassie, he's back in jail. And I got a sneaking suspicion our mate, the bureaucrat, crushed under his mother. Oh, that mother. Oh, I don't like that mother. I mean, she's great. Like Crispin is great, but I hate her like we hate Crispin as well. I was like, oh, that woman. Come on, mate, get out cut the apron strings and get out of the house. In fact, just do a Norman Bates. Put a knife in her and just get out. But she provides the tension for him and helps explain why, he's such just this OCD character. Yeah. And I reckon he's going to find him in the jail. Because he's looking for him. Like, I think he's still the only character who is looking for Cassie. The others are looking, they're chasing or like.
You're just trying to find the people who robbed the stuff.
But he's looking for him, and he's going to be in the system. And I reckon it's those two characters. I mean, they've got to. They're bound to fight it out. And I reckon he's in jail. Look for Mama's boy to come firing up.
And we finally got a K2SO revelation, or the K2SO bots. Not so much.
There he was. Yeah.
What I enjoyed in this episode the most was how, like, the lady intelligence officer just burns that other intelligence officer.
Yes. Office politics,
annoying shit. He's like, you're taking my sector.
The barbs, like, it's just, what a workplace. This was a fascinating episode just to see the personalities on both sides. They're a little bit like the Greens and the Black.
Yeah.
But the manipulations and the jockeying and stuff. And I was fascinated with Mothma's 2 conversations she had.
Yeah, that too. That was interesting.
She had 2 fascinating conversations. First one was Stellan Skarsgård, which I just thought, it's obvious now that he's, like, this is how I see it, right? She's kind of, Well, I don't know if he's an extremist, or he might be, but it depends how you see this. This is, I think Stellan Skarsgård sees things getting worse. He really sees the Empire as just being this hardcore thing that will take all guns blazing to bring it down. No more half measures, right? He sees that this is everywhere stuff, and good old Mothma thinks she can have her cake and eat it too. She thinks that she can live the high life, shuffling money through to the rebellion or through the charities, and somehow maintain both. And in this episode, I got the feeling that conversation was him saying, it doesn't work like that. Like, we have to take this to the next level. This just can't. I don't think, like, right now, living a double life is what they're all about. Well, when they're in there having their discussion, looking out the window, pretending to smile, making sure that the driver is. And I think he's getting to the point where saying, we can't do this half-measure stuff. We've got to go all in. Like, I hate to tell you this, and it's quite manipulative what he's doing. Like, you could easily argue his ethics, because I think he's manipulating her out of her comfort. I think he looks. There's a look of guilt there, because he knows what he's doing. He's taking a rich woman, wife, and mother, and getting her into trouble that she will not be able to get out of. But he thinks it's just got to happen like that.
Yeah, but the thing is, what he says actually makes sense. Like, the Empire is doing it slowly. Like, you're boiling a frog slowly before it realizes it's been cooked. Like, that saying? Like if they need to raise the temperature quickly so the frogs realize they're being cooked, so they, like, fight their way out.
Right.
It was an announcement. It was an announcement. And I think he knows that the days of him living double life, and her, I think he knows that those days are going to fast come to an end, because people are going to have to pick a side soon. That girl that's with him, I'm calling it. That girl that is with him, that is Leia. That has to be Leia. I looked at her face.
Why would it be Leia? That doesn't even make sense, because that would be one. It would be
Leia.
Why would Leia be disconnected from the Senate by that point?
Yeah.
Like, away from her
parents. She's young. She's 16. I reckon she's 17, 18, or 19. I looked at her face, and boy, does she look like Leia. Boy, we haven't. I think I'm making the call. That is Leia. I reckon she will. And my call. This is the brave prediction. She's young. She's learning the ropes. She's going to go back and become the princess of Alderaan, but she's going to learn. And she went off and said, "Go kill that." Remember, she then went off to someone we haven't seen before, and says the survivor was Cassie. Go kill him. I reckon she's just this raw, young Leia who's under his tutelage, because you look at her face. I wish I had the picture. Look at her face, the brown eyes, the nose, and notice that camera never lingers on her for very long. I just think that she's just sitting there, right underneath our noses. I think Gilroy is playing. I'm making the prediction. I think that's Leia.
I wouldn't understand how a Senate leader would not recognize that to be Leia.
Because we haven't recognized her as Leia yet.
Well, but that's because we haven't seen her really looking at her. Except for, I thought we did see her in the previous a couple episodes before. But
we've seen her, but her head is covered. Her head is covered. She's very low key. The camera doesn't linger on her. No one talks to her. She's just sitting there.
I guess we'll see and we'll find out. I don't think it's Leia, though.
I looked at her long again. This is older than she was in Obi-Wan, younger than she will become. I think she will learn the ropes of the rebellion. I think someone is going to, and there's also, he keeps referring to a friend as well, I think. An ally. And anyway, that's the brave prediction. I'm putting it out there.
Duly noted.
Balls to the wall.
Yeah, she had. Yeah, that could be Leia. I'm looking at a picture right now. That could be Leia, especially with the hair. You're right. The hair's like
her nose. I just thought anyway. So I thought, getting right back to your point, you talked about how interesting the Empire was.
Yeah.
Gift, and this week, again, that hasn't ceased, right? That's still just incredible.
But they made the rebellion again. Now, once you start putting the pieces of how a rebellion comes together outside of the ragtagness of it, it becomes interesting again to me.
Yeah, because it's going to be hard. Like that girl who I say is Leia said, "Go kill Cassie." Like,
yeah,
go kill. Like so.
Yeah.
That's.
He's not dead.
Yeah. She does kind of look like Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just putting it.
I don't think she's Leia.
We're seeing that being a rebellion is just not the romantic notion we saw in Star Wars, where you fly up to a base, shoot a couple of bullets or lasers into a hole, and then disappear. Like it is complicated, and that was what we saw in Rogue One, which Gilroy was also part of. So he's really keen to start saying this rebellion thing is messy because everything is messy when you have an oppressive power beating people down, and people have got to do whatever they can with whatever resources they have to kind of fight back. And the rule books kind of go out the window sometimes,
So, but that's I guess for me is just like this episode was very interesting, transitional for me, because again, then it goes back to one. Let's talk about the first time they finally made a mention to anything else outside the Star Wars lore with Palpatine. So it's an interesting component to add, because you know what? It's weird. I don't feel the power of Palpatine. Like like in the previous, in other Star Wars, you mentioned the Emperor, and you feel the fantasy variation of it. In this one, when they mentioned Emperor Palpatine, it felt wrong. I felt like there should have been a president or a prime minister, but Emperor feels like you shouldn't have any direct contact to this person. In fact, you might not even know this person exists in this element. Like, I wouldn't expect a commander or a colonel in the military to know about Emperor Palpatine. I expect them to know about Prime Minister something, President this.
But the thing is, you have to go back. Palpatine used to be a senator, and people will know him, right?
Yeah. But that's people in power
as well.
But that's the thing; it's people in power. Whenever he was just Palpatine, it was Senator Palpatine. He's a person, yada yada. When he became Emperor and then showed to be a Sith, which was a secret for all that time, the Sith Lord always sits in the back, and then it's his apprentice that's also in the front. The Sith and apprentice component of it feels like it shouldn't be something that people can just mention like it's nothing, because it goes back to making the Jedis and the Sith a regular component of the universe. And what we took from 4, 5, 6, when Han Solo initially came into the scene, there was not a whole lot of belief in the Jedi. Even Rogue One kind of provided that element where it was like some people believed in the Force, but it was kind of like this offset religion of people, and you just go with it. So when you're talking Emperor Palpatine of the Empire, does not make sense to the hierarchy that they are speaking of right now. I just feel like it was an offset. Like, I like the fact that there was a connect. I just didn't like the people who were making it.
So to try to give it, it's kind of, if there was a bank heist in downtown,
wherever,
New Orleans, and someone said, "Well, President Obama's really worried about that."
Right.
About a bank a bank heist in New Orleans. It's going all the way up from. So that's what you're saying?
Yeah, it's true. The hierarchy didn't make any sense. I need to see, like, if we're getting to Emperor Palpatine levels, this is the closest units, the generals of the generals, that know of his existence. And then everybody down the roll, it goes from that point. Even if you knew the senator, as far as you're concerned, the senator no longer is an element. He's forever injured or something to that effect. But he's the emperor.
Okay. I mean, I heard someone saying in a podcast they hoped they just couldn't see how Palpatine couldn't not turn up. He had to turn up in the series, and I disagree with that. Like, I just don't think. I just think the series just, I don't know, it doesn't feel right. If it's the tone of the series, this is about the lower levels.
Yes,
the lower levels fighting it out.
Look, here's the real reality. You're a Jedi or you're a Sith. What do you need money for? You literally can recreate what you want or manipulate what you want. Your job has much higher architect because it's literally universal, life connecting pieces, not 80 million got stolen out of one fortress over here if you've colonized so many others accordingly, you know.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's see how that one plays out. I mean, to me, the show is going great guns.
It's a great show. It's still going great. It was just when they mentioned it, I was both excited but disappointed by who was saying it. Like, I just talked to Emperor Palpatine, and he said, "Shut up! You didn't talk to nobody."
Shut up, man in white suit. All these people in white suits. Oh, so sorry. Are we ready to move on to our probably going to be, because this is going to take a while, this Fox thing.
All right.
So we have done the 5 biggest miscasts of the Marvel Universe, and I know that you boys were both chafing at the bit to go at both DCU and Fox's X-Men. So one at a time, boys, time to unleash on one of the most inconsistent, sometimes good, but sometimes really bad.
A lot of times really bad.
The X-Men series. Guys, your top, can you get me just down to 5 miscasts each? JP, I think you've got 5 ready to go.
Yeah. My fifth, I'll go 5-1. My fifth would be everyone who played Colossus in the movies except in Deadpool. Those were just really bad.
Except in Deadpool, right. The Colossus were pretty bad.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So. My 4th on my list is Vinnie Jones, who plays Juggernaut.
Yep.
I just thought.
You didn't like I'm the Juggernaut, bitch.
Was he English?
Is cement
English
helmet.
Is he English in the
comics? Yeah. He's like Professor X's half brother.
Oh wow, he's definitely not that.
Yeah, but he's not like. But the problem is the dude never stops being. What was that soccer movie about the fans that are like stupid dangerous?
Hooligans.
Hooligans, right? It was Hooligans Juggernaut. Though I still love the fact that they used a meme. I always appreciate when movies pay attention to the internet, even if it was like 2 years late.
All right, what's number 3?
Number 3, Josh Brolin as Thanos.
Wait, are we doing MCU or just X-Men?
Well, Deadpool and Cable, they're not really they're not MCU yet. They're still
weren't we just doing X-Men?
Yeah, we're doing X-Men. But you said
Josh Brolin as Cable. That's what I meant.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
I thought he was pretty good. I thought.
Nah.
Why not?
He's already Thanos, and it gets pretty distracting because it's Thanos as well. And he's for me, he's too small to be he's like it.
You want that big gray hair Cable with a freaking huge arm with a band around him.
The good thing about Josh Brolin, he's an actor, so he can actually do 2 different types of people, and you can believe him because he's an actor.
I don't think it's built to be Cable.
Okay.
No, I'd rather have that guy from what's that movie? Avatar. That
Sam Worthington.
Oh yeah, no, the white hair, the dude who played the villain in
Oh
Avatar.
yeah, him.
That
All
guy.
right. Okay.
I can see
All
that.
right.
I
So number
see what you're saying.
two.
Number 2, Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse and X-Men Apocalypse. I mean, he's a great actor. He did it well.
That
Except,
was a bad casting.
again, Apocalypse has to be huge. They could have made him a bit bigger CGI or something, but visually, in X-Men Apocalypse, I didn't like it.
Okay. Number 1.
Number 1, don't hate me, but I'm going to maintain that Hugh Jackman is too tall to be Wolverine.
You got a height problem. You got a height problem. Did you think Elijah Wood was too big to be a Hobbit? I mean, what's your deal with height? Of all the things that a person brings to a role, height is just one of like a zillion different things.
Now, the thing is,
do you measure them?
Nah, in the comics, he is really short, and it's one of the things that really is a big part of his character. I mean, they could have made him look smaller in the movies. That would have been great, but they didn't. He's just tall, and it's just distracting.
It's disruptive. It doesn't allow the fullness of the character because a Napoleon complex is part of that anger.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty, there we go. So there's your 5. Do you have anything? What do you think, Gift?
I mean, I get it. I think for me, there's a difference between bad role and bad casting. So some things that I considered was a bad role, I don't consider to necessarily have been a bad casting. So that would make some of my responses might be surprising. I'll use an example since I don't have to worry about her being on the list. Jennifer Lawrence, in my opinion, was not a bad casting, but she was in she portrayed a bad role.
Poorly written role, yeah.
And her portrayal of it, the writing and the portrayal of it. So she might have been the right feel, and I can understand why, but how she ended up depicting was wrong.
Yeah. I get you because I've got one of those on my list. I've got
so for me, I'm speaking to ones that just did not match, and they also so happen to affect the rest of the role. I'm gonna use another example that we have here, so I help remove stuff off of the list here for you. Hugh Jackman I don't feel was a bad casting. I just don't, or he was not a good casting, but he portrayed the role enough where the casting didn't matter. So I don't think he's a good Wolverine, but but he did enough to make it work. Physically, he's not a good casting, but he played the character in a way that was appealing, and it did click, but to the extent of what the writing allowed it to do, because there's also limits of how much of the anger we got to see. But he did the Wolverine role well enough to make the Wolverine role relevant.
So is that in your top 5?
No, that's why I mentioned him. So I can remove stuff off of the list here.
Okay, so come on, let's get you top 5.
So number 5, James Marsden as Cyclops. That was, I could have put that as my number 1, but I feel like there's others that deserve the list. He should not have been Cyclops. Ironically, him and Hugh Jackman probably should have switched the roles, because that Cyclops, while he's supposed to be like the Boy Scout, who's actually he's a great strategist, but he's not as morally ethical as he always tries to portray himself. He was not a leader. There wasn't a leader, and James Marsden doesn't portray himself as a leader. He was just a small guy, and then he came off like a punk, the whole time.
So I've got, just to save us some time, he's on my top 5 as well. So I don't have to go back. And pretty much the same thing. He just is not intimidating.
At all.
And when he does go up against Wolverine, he just It's boys versus men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so I forget. Next
Number
one.
4, Taylor Kitsch as Gambit. That's
I forgot about him.
I look. I actually don't mind Taylor Kitsch because of Friday Night Lights, but that was a dumb casting. Like it was a dumb. It was a bad accent. Like he was Texan. Like understand Louisiana is not Texas.
Yeah.
Alabama is not Louisiana.
Yeah.
It was. It just he didn't have the feel. He didn't have the look. He wasn't charming. He wasn't sly.
Yeah.
It was just.
So he was in one of those Wolverine movies, wasn't he? He was.
Yes, he was in the
Origin
Wolverine Origins.
I forgot about him. If I remembered him, he would have been up in my list as well.
He was.
Yep.
Nah,
Okay.
Gambit had to be charming.
Yeah, he did. There was nothing. He was just a guy in a bar that messed with cards. That was it.
Yeah, he was very underwhelming.
Very underwhelming.
All right, what else you got?
Number 3, Anna Paquin as Rogue. Do I have to say anything? Like,
yeah, you do, because I didn't think she was bad.
Right, fine. Rogue, as a Southern girl, even as a confused one, is one that is about realization and self-development over time. And of course, she has a presence. There's a presence to Rogue, which is why her and Gambit coming together was always such a great dynamic. Anna Paquin has always played diminutive and scared. Even before, obviously this was before True Blood, but even in her roles prior to, it was always diminutive and scared. And there's nothing powerful about Anna Paquin. There's nothing powerful about like that gives you a presence. She doesn't have a presence where you're like, things could be all right, even if they're wrong. Her portrayal was terrible. It was just a bad look. It was a scared girl, and she just played the scared girl for every single movie. I blame that both on the writing and the actress. And the casting.
That's exactly where they took her. So yeah, that's where they took her.
But she doesn't have the presence. And also not Southern. All right. Again, you can get the Mississippi girl. All right. I don't care if it was the two. You can get the Mississippi girl that actually feels like she has Mississippi charm, not a Canadian masquerading as a Southerner,
Yeah,
that's masquerading as an American, as everybody, a northern United States American.
Okay.
Yeah, I get that.
Number 2, it was like JP, Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse. Great actor, terrible casting, terrible role. It's almost as if they didn't read the comics, which isn't surprising because, of course, it's Bryan Singer, so he does whatever he wants.
Was that him? Yeah, it was him.
Yeah, it was Bryan Singer.
So
this is give little. I mean, the costuming terrible. Like the dude who was a pharaoh in ancient Egypt is this diminutive nothing that we have here, and then
that's someone who's small.
And I really tried to give it a credit. I was like, nah, it's just the trailers. They're gonna beef it up. They're gonna get it right. No, never did.
And number 1.
Number 1 is actually a twofer because they play the same character. So number 1 is both Alexandria Shipp and Halle Berry as Storm. That was the biggest drop. I mean, the absolute disrespect to Storm in just every single way. And yes, I know Angela Bassett rejected the role in 2000 because she wanted to do how Stella got her groove back, and nobody trusted hero movies at that point. But there was a chick from Firefly that was still sitting out there who would have been crushing it at minimum as the look of Storm. At minimum as the look of Storm.
But you have to say, Angela Bassett did the right move by rejecting the role because those movies are... No, because 1, 2, 3 at the time when we were 1 and 2 at the time that we got it was the first time that we actually got a serious hero movie
with the intent of showing it as a comic book movie and giving us something accurate. Looking back now, no, they weren't great. But from 2000 looking forward, that was groundbreaking because the only thing closest we had was Blade, and we didn't even know. I know I didn't. Blade was even a comic book movie. It just seemed like a hero movie. They didn't even mention Marvel whenever they talked about Blade. So X-Men was really the first time in 2000 that we got something. So no, I think it was regretful that she did because how Stella got her groove back did create a cult classic within the community that ended up being a complete and total lie of a movie as well too, because that husband ended up being gay and using her for actual citizenship fraud. But like it took away a role that they've never made Storm who she actually is. Like the goddess of the weather never came out through 9 movies. Not one depiction did we actually see Storm as powerful. So, and both of those roles were just terribly done. Halle Berry was too small, too diminutive. While I get why she took the role, it
it was the direction or the writing.
No. Oh well, I mean that's part of it too. That's full part of it. I mean, hers is interesting because she got onto the writers in the third one, whatever the last X-Men, X-Men 3, and said I need more
to do
character.
Honestly,
like I've got more character, and she was right, but she gave it by that stage. It had gone to
it's too far gone.
What's his face?
That went to
the director, Brad. Was it Brad?
The hero killer.
And he and
Rapey McGee. We're gonna call him Rapey McGee. Since he's never gonna be working in Hollywood again.
And he's stuffed up with that character, and he's all clumsy and nasty. She's on my list, and you're talking about wanting people to be Texan or people from the Mississippi. I was really disappointed to hear that she was South African because there's none of that came through to me.
No, exactly.
None of that came through to me. And I've been to South Africa several times. I know lots of South Africans. And I would have loved her that would have been just a great element to bring to the role and add texture, and particularly when you're talking about mutants and you're talking about forms of apartheid, with what was doing with different things and segregation. South Africa is just like time to tap into something real, which is what those early movies were really good at. Right. Tap into something real, let the real and the real world and this fictional world collide through her character, and they
wasted it. There. They literally, and honestly, look, I know it's gonna sound good, but I honestly think it's just because they didn't respect Storm. I'm gonna say she was black woman in that time. This was 2000s. It's not 2016 past 2000s. I don't think that they had the respect for that role like that at this time. I do expect the MCU to rectify that, but I don't think basically through early 2000s, because it just wasn't. It was still the time where gatekeeping existed in the heaviest of the heaviest way, and obviously a lot of the movement. So I don't think they respected Halle Berry outside of being a good-looking person to put into the film.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't have much to add to your guys because you guys have said, I think 3 of the ones I've said, which was
I just want your order. I want your order. I
don't want my order. So I had Vinnie Jones because he can't act. Like that. He can't act. Yeah, right.
Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
I had James Marsden. Again, it's funny because when you see James Marsden in other things, he's got quite a high charm factor. Like he's really good at some of those kiddie stuff and things like that. And when you see him do Sonic the Hedgehog, was it Sonic the Hedgehog he did?
Yeah.
He kind of and when in Westworld where he played the innocent Teddy, that's his wheelhouse there, not Cyclops. And then you got Halle Berry. Then I've got in my top 2 Jean Grey, as done by Lannister.
Okay. I was trying to figure out which one was it. Was it the Famicca?
No, I thought Famicca was so much better because
Yeah.
physically she had a look that she had a real look to her that there was trouble there, but she was beautiful.
Yeah.
But she had those features about her that said I could be trouble. I could be like I really liked her look, and she played that pretty well. Even if the script in the last one didn't give her. Oh well, she really did do well in that role. I couldn't get into what's his name Stark as. I've only seen bits of that movie. To be honest, I tagged out the
Sophie
last.
Turner. It's terrible. There's nothing to watch.
Yeah.
It's
So
so terrible.
I'm unapologetic. But when I saw bits of that, and I looked at her, and I just went, she just doesn't have that. She's not intimidating. She's not scary. She doesn't have darkness. Even when she played that kind of role in Game of Thrones, she got hard. Like she became like queen, the queen that didn't get married, and she ruled over. She's the queen of the North, but she never had this evil bubbling up within her, kind of that could kill. And I didn't buy it.
So for me, I had Sophie Turner initially, but my only drawback was I actually thought she was a good casting because she had the look. I think she was a bad acting, and so it's like it ruined everything going forward. But I think she was an actual better casting appearance-wise than Famke Janssen.
Yep.
But I think Famke Janssen did a better job of portraying it and creating the vulnerability than Sophie Turner was able to do, because I think Sophie Turner is a very stiff actress.
And you'll know as soon as I say it, because I've talked about it a couple of times before, is the younger version of William Stryker. You know how much I loved Brian Cox and that first line he says in that second movie about him fighting in the mud in the war portrays a warrior, like someone who is hardened and bitter about the world and he's seen in Vietnam. And then you go and see things, and then you see Stryker in Days of Future Past. He's walking around with a clean cut outfit on.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like he's got a single spot on him. And he looks like a deviant. He looks like a pervert. Like you know what I mean? He doesn't I just thought, I really hope MCU can do it. I would have loved, okay, this is me putting my writing hat on. I would have loved to have seen him somewhere in that movie fighting in the mud and the blood of Vietnam and then running into Wolverine's crew.
Right.
And that being their first time and just seeing Stryker as a bit of a war hero, as someone who's fighting but lost his mates and lost his friends, and then seeing Wolverine or them just casually killing people because they can't, and then him just going, what the hell is this? And I just thought that could have been a beautiful arc. Instead, they just got a pervert. So that's... He looks like, doesn't he? Like, with all due respect to the actor, he doesn't look like a hardened warrior. He looks like funny mouth.
I get it.
It could be a baddie, just not the one that we saw. Because Brian Cox, again, find out Brian Cox is probably impossible for most people.
Brian Cox is gritty.
And he's like, don't mess with that man. And the way he's portrayed in that X-Men 2, he's like, because remember, he gets the better of nearly he gets the better of Professor X, he gets the better of Magneto, and you've got to have, as I've said with most of these characters, even without superheroes, they would be intimidating and hard to beat and hard to kill.
True story.
And that's what William Stryker is. So I'm still waiting to see what MCU do with Stryker. I'm hoping it's going to be someone who's just a real badass and not a pervert. All right, guys. Are we happy that's a whole hour?
I think that's good enough. I don't think we need to worry about the Creed stuff.
I need to go. Yes, no. I haven't seen
the first Creed movie, but
I've seen bits of it.
I don't remember seeing the second, so I've got to go back and watch it.
I heard it's good, so it's on me not to watch.
It's on me not to. It's the combination again of Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler. So yeah. Even though it's basically almost like remakes of the Rambo movies 1 and 2, and literally this is kind of the remake of Rambo 3, but still
Rambo.
Not Rambo. I'm sorry, Rocky.
Oh, I was about to say, did they send them off to Vietnam and Afghanistan and blow people up? But it's also got our girl Tessa in there. Don't forget, she's in there as well.
Yep. 3 straight. So you need to see this.
Yeah, I know.
If you're not gonna watch Rocky, if you're not gonna watch Rocky, watch Creed.
I've seen Rocky, but like I get the moment stop because it's been too long.
But the thing is, with what you've seen, Rocky's one of those things. A bit like when my kids watched Alien, or they see something else, they say that's just like all the other movies. I said no, all the other movies are just like
this one exactly.
And so Rocky movie, Rocky's been done. But Ryan Coogler, Michael B. Jordan, Tessa, yeah, you're right. It's bad on my behalf. I'm not going to apologize for not seeing. Bloody The Breakfast Club either. By the way, I'll apologize. I don't know. A bunch of teenagers self-reflecting on a Saturday morning just doesn't do it for me. It just doesn't do it for me.
Yo, these are deep thoughts, all right?
No, they're not.
This is next level.
I was a youth worker for 17 years working with teenagers. They don't have too many deep thoughts, I can tell you. I can tell you what some of those thoughts are, but not live at the moment.
All right, I'm about to end the broadcast now.
Okay.
Let's remind our friends to please click on the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you know when we have new videos out.
Subscribe!
Subscribe!
Die.